The Colts and the Jets offenses look surprisingly great with their new quarterbacks under center. We react to the best and worst week one fantasy performances and tell you who to pick up on waivers on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Vinny, we are almost all the way through the week one games. We have one more game tonight on Monday Night Football between the Vikings and the Bears. But we have to discuss some guys that had very shocking performances whose stock is up, disappointing performances who we're worried about and their stock is looking down after week one. And then we'll close out today's show with going over some waiver wire priority pickups that you should be grabbing or thinking about in your fantasy leagues for this upcoming week. Let's talk about two offenses that surprised us the most in week one, and that's got to be the Colts and the Jets. They have their new quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Justin Fields. Starting with Daniel Jones, I mean, he scored 29.5 fantasy points against the Dolphins, third among quarterbacks, and that was with just them absolutely destroying the Dolphins and him getting, a bit of a break there at the end of the game. But Tyler Warren did his thing with 9 targets, 7 receptions, 76 yards, 10 and 5 on the week. And Michael Pittman Jr. was his top wide receiver as the wide receiver 8 so far in fantasy this week as well.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones, this is what I said. He was going to execute the intermediate offense much better than Anthony Richardson. He's just going to go out there and listen, do the check downs, throw to the guys that are open in the middle of the field. The Dolphins defense stinks overall. Middle of the field was open with Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman, 2 trusty hand guys all over the field. And we know Alec Pierce in the deep passing game, we're not going to see that as much. And then we're going to see Daniel Jones run in a different way. He's going to call his own number in the red zone. So it was exciting to see that, but I'm going to take 2 things out of this. It was the Dolphins defense. They're atrocious. So feel much better if the Patriots let down. Go into that matchup feeling good. And let's cool the Jets on the Colts. They play the Broncos. Very tough defense. It's at Indianapolis. That could give them a shot here. But again, Daniel Jones is not going to do this every week, but I do know one thing he's going to do. He's going to throw a lot, it seems like, to Ward and Pittman and less to Downs and Pierce and some of those bigger play targets.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones is not a guy I want to trust next week against the Broncos, but you do feel really great about Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman going forward here. Now, Justin Fields balls out. Unfortunately loses because it just the poor man struggles to ever win. And he and Garrett Wilson had no issues connecting in the regular season, right? They couldn't connect in the preseason. Maybe they're all just faking us out. But Justin Fields ends right now as the second most fantasy points on the week behind only Josh Allen with 30 fantasy points. Breece Hall right now is the running back 9 with over 140 scrimmage yards in the game. And he didn't score a touchdown because Braylon Allen stole it from him, but still a great week. And then Garrett Wilson is the wide receiver 6 on the week with 9 targets, 7 receptions, 95 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this game has to make you feel so much better about Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields moving forward because it's not like the Steelers secondary is some chump secondary. Like, they're pretty solid. They revamped it. So it's very eye-opening that the Jets offense looked this good immediately.
Yeah, sometimes you get caught up in your own head, right, with Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers and trying to incorporate a lot of guys. And look, the Jets weren't ready for that. The Steelers obviously were, right? They're okay with incorporating different guys on the other side. But the Jets, I think, are following this philosophy of keep it simple, stupid. I mean, that's it, right? Run Breece Hall, run Justin Fields, throw to Garrett Wilson, throw to the other guys occasionally. I mean, the other wide receivers combined for 5 targets in this game. So it's going to be heavy Wilson targets, much like Tanner Engstrand would have had with the Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown in those early days. And then, hey, we're going to run the ball, and our offensive line's a little bit better this year, even without Elijah Vera Tucker. So, yeah, this is what you're seeing. I mean, again, new philosophy, keeping it simple, all these things. I mean, the Jets are not at all what they were with Rodgers the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's nice to finally see the run game getting going too, and just all of it together. Now, the Chargers did exactly what I was hoping they would do. Justin Herbert looked amazing, 28 fantasy points. And then both Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen right now are top 10 fantasy wide receivers on the week, with Quentin Johnston wide receiver 2, Allen wide receiver 9. Keenan Allen led this team in targets at 10 targets. He had 7 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Quentin Johnston came down with 2 touchdowns. But even Ladd McConkey, it's not like he had a bad day. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions, 74 yards. So all 3 of these guys, I think, definitely Keenan Allen, McConkey, I want to keep playing game after game. Quentin Johnston's going to be more of that boomer bust, but we'll talk more about Johnson in our waiver wire section later on in the show.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert, old hat with Keenan Allen. They just picked up where they left off a couple years ago. And I got to love Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he just said, we're going to throw. This is how we're going to beat the Chiefs. We're not going to bother with the running game. I know we have Marvin Hampton, but I do like his offense philosophy. And that was the only question I had with Justin Herbert, right? Is he going to get the volume in this offense? And the answer in the first game was yes. And maybe they just needed to trust the weapons with Allen Johnston and McConkey to get the job done. Now, is he going to do this every week? No, but is he going to have some big games? Yeah, because the Raiders are next. You figure that could be a good spot to get Marvin Hampton going, but if he gets going, it's only going to make Allen and Herbert and this whole passing game better. So this offense just could be a total machine here for running and passing here soon. And let's get Hampton going. That's the only thing we need here, and then we'll feel really good about the Chargers.
Now, when you're looking at the rankings right now of fantasy wide receiver points in week 1, it's just a hilarious top 5 list. And you could do this for most week 1, so in the NFL, right? And that's why it's important not to overreact too much after week 1. But this is the top 5 scorers among the wide receivers this week. Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, Emeka Egbuka, Keon Coleman, and then Deebo Samuel. Those are the top 5. Among these top 5, who do you feel most confident will keep it going for the rest of the season? Because I think I lean Egbuka here. I was really glad to see him utilized in this offense, get those deep touchdowns, played 93% of the Buccaneers offensive snaps right off the bat. So I just thought he showed out immediately in his NFL debut, and I'm excited to see the rest of his season.
Yeah, I think with the Ravens, it's going to be a different guy each week. With the Bills, it's going to be different guys each week because you had Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman do well here, but it could be Khalil Shakir. It could be someone else getting the job done. I mean, Josh Allen also is not going to be that far behind where he's going to have to pepper these guys with targets, but Coleman looked good. Like, we want him to look good. So you got to be excited if you have Josh Allen, because we were waiting for Coleman to kick in, Kincaid to actually do what he's doing. So Josh Allen now has the weapons. He's got himself. And Zay Flowers, look, it could be easily Rashad Bateman. It could be Mark Andrews. Maybe the loss of Isaiah Likely early helps Flowers in terms of the key targets there. So I think he's still playable as a wide receiver 3. But Emeka Egbuka is necessary for his team right now. And he's a great red zone receiver. So he's going to see all the key downfield targets and also the ones in the middle of the field in scoring position. So Egbuka is here to stay, folks. I mean, we'll see what happens when Chris Godwin is able to return, maybe in week 5, see if anything changes there. But for the foreseeable future, Egbuka is the guy you're going to trust the most of those guys, regardless of the matchup.
And Deebo Samuel, I mean, he did his thing in his first game with the Commanders, played 77% of snaps. I mean, I think that's a fine percentage-wise, but got 10 targets, by far led the team. I mean, Terry McLaurin only saw 4 targets, 77 yards. He got the rushing touchdown for a 19-yard carry. He seems like he's going to be a massive part of this offense, and he looked pretty good. The thing with Deebo is you never know what you're going to get from him. Is he in shape? Is he not? But right at this moment, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, the GM knows him really well. And then you have the usage of the Cliff Kingsbury offense where they like these type of players, like spread the field, like these old guys. I said, don't discount Zach Ertz. He's still going to have a key role. He scores a touchdown here. Samuel scores a touchdown. They know how to incorporate people in their offense. It's actually pretty streamlined as well. Samuel basically eats up all the targets all those other messy receivers had after McLaurin. McLaurin, this could be a bummer. We said he's going to be down because they're spreading the ball, and Ertz and now Samuel are just as important to the offense in different ways as McLaurin is. So McLaurin, I wouldn't say he's a go-to guy in the sense of stretching the field, red zone at times, but they'll be fine if they don't have to go to him in certain games. And this is the whole problem I had with the whole McLaurin holdout and McLaurin's inflated value after his big touchdown season.
Yeah, I think McLaurin will be all right. It's just going to take a little bit of time for
Yeah.
him to get going, and he is going to be pretty touchdown dependent. We are going to now move on to the worst performances of the week.
Oh,
And as
gosh.
much as the Colts were so fun to watch on offense, the team across from them and the Dolphins were so incredibly bad. So we'll get to them and then talk about the other bad performances of the week right after a quick break.
This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. Now, look, Michelle's on fire in week one with her Prize Picks picks of the week. Mine just fell a little short. Bo Nix, I think, was a half yard short of hitting what I wanted with the rushing yards, but for you, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections. That's what you have to do. And you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's a lot of fun to analyze and break down for you with these projections, and quick, easy, and honestly a favorite way to follow along with your teams. Even if you don't have these guys in your fantasy team, it's great to look at them in Prize Picks because, again, you're watching them carefully. I'm watching those lines with the box score to see if my guy's getting there. So it's a lot of fun to get in on every game. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
Hey, Locked On Fantasy Football fans. Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime in your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited promo code TOUCHDOWN for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. All right, let's get to the worst performances of the week, and we can group these by some offenses this week. And the Dolphins especially just disappointed us with Tua Tagovailoa throwing 2 interceptions and only having 1 touchdown, and it came late in the game. I mean, they didn't score anything until about 6 minutes left in the game. Only 114 passing yards, got benched for Zach Wilson by the end because they're getting so destroyed. Tyreek Hill did, 4 for 40. Jalen Waddle, 4 for 30. Really, I mean, Devin Achane right now is the running back 10 on the week, so he's fine. It wasn't like a huge performance, but put up over about 75 scrimmage yards and scored that receiving touchdown. So he came through. But besides Devin Achane, brutal. I mean, at least they're home next week. Maybe they come back to life.
Yeah, the Patriots defense didn't show me a lot, so that could be a good matchup to get well a little bit. But the problem is, too, it just was terrible. That's
So
the it was really not easy to watch. And look, Mike McDaniel almost threw him under the bus. He's got to throw someone under the bus because soon the bus is going to be coming for him at this rate. So when I look at this, I mean, this is why we like Devon Achane a lot because he is the offense right now. They have to check it down to him. They have to throw him the ball in short areas. They got to run it with him. Jalen Wright is down, so they don't have him available. So they really have to revolve this entire offense around him. There's no Darren Waller either at tight end, so there's no Johnny Smith. There's nobody like that. So he has to be the only way, short-term intermediate, to move the ball. But we also know his numbers are also tied to Tua. If Tua goes down, then we're going to start worrying about Devin Achane with Zach Wilson in there. That's going to be just a bigger mess here. So I don't know what to say. It's just this is why I didn't want to be part of the Dolphins at all. This is a train wreck. Look, if they can't get it done against the Patriots defense, then you really panic.
This might be an offense where you just play the guys at home and sit them on the road because that's been the way that the Dolphins have been bad on the road for pretty much the whole time under Tua. So we got to watch them at home and see if it's any better. I'm not starting Tua at all, but I'm still willing to start Tyreek Hill at home next week. And then, of course, Achane's going to keep being in your lineup. Ollie Gordon had pretty much nothing. I mean, it was all Achane in that backfield. Now, Bryce Young and the Panthers, it was a pretty lackluster game, right? Bryce Young throws 2 interceptions, doesn't look very good. Now there is some rain, and then it got stalled with the lightning storm, and that was delayed for quite a while. So maybe that messed everything up. And the Jaguars, who knows, maybe they're a better defense than we thought they would be this year.
Yeah.
McMillan had an okay game, nine targets, 5 receptions, 68 yards. So Tedero McMillan, his first game, like, you can't be too upset about that. Hubbard fixed his fantasy day with the receiving touchdown and 32 yards through the air, but was pretty bad on the ground. But again, got pretty much all the work in the backfield. So keep playing Hubbard. But like Bryce Young, for the time being, I need to see him look better before I plug him into my lineup again as like a sleeper.
Yeah, we just want him to be better, honestly. Like, we're not, in a lot of leagues, not counting on Bryce Young, but we're counting on him to get the ball to Tedero McMillan and maximize the new weapon he has. And at least he got Hubbard the ball, and really that was all Hubbard on the sideline to get the job done on that play. So really, he was bailed out a little bit with his 1 touchdown pass. Yeah, they got to get him going. And I don't know if it'll get going. Tough place to play, Arizona. Their defense played pretty well. They're kind of a sneaky, tough draw here on the road. So I'm not sure that's the get-well game. I mean, at least McMillan is going back to the state he played college in. So maybe that'll get him going. But look, if they have to go to Andy Dalton, you might actually feel a little bit better about McMillan at this state until Young can show something.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll go back to Dolan again this past. But
it's over. If they do that, his career's over in Carolina if that happens. So no.
Now, Bo Nix had a very disappointing performance in his first game. I have been off the Bo Nix train all off season. Doesn't mean he can't get better. Doesn't mean he's going to be bad all season. But 40 pass attempts led to only 176 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Had just 18 yards on the ground despite having 8 rush attempts. The backfield, I mean, J.K. Dobbins got the touchdown, I guess. And Harvey had that 50-yard carry, which saved his day because he only had 6 carries on the day. Only 1 reception for -1 yards. But Cortland Sutton, okay day, 6 for 61 and 1. But Bo Nix at home last year was a pretty good fantasy quarterback. And this game was at home. On the road, he was not a good fantasy quarterback at all. And the next 2 games are at the Colts, who just shut down the Dolphins, and then at the Chargers, who have a pretty solid defense. So I don't want to play Bo Nix until he shows me more, especially against those 2 teams, these upcoming 2 teams.
Yeah, and Evan Ingram got backed up in the game. That could be a big thing where he doesn't have many weapons other than Cortland Sutton on whom to rely upon here. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, Bo Nix was that guy that you saw in the top 12 last year as a QB, but I don't recall anybody saying, I'm excited to play Bo Nix this week, right? It kind of compiled there in the end. He had the big game to put him in that top 10 position firmly, right, at week 18, much like the Drake London of quarterbacks here. So, again, he was bad too. But when you look at Bo Nix, I think this is what you see is what you get. The sophomore slump is there. I think the Titans' defense is actually a little bit better than we think. But, again, if he's going to run into average to above average defenses, I think he's in trouble.
And now one backfield that was supposed to be, split, and it was not. And I feel a little proud, after week 1. It's that Jaguars backfield with Travis Etienne completely owned it. Had 143 rushing yards, 3 receptions, 13 touchdowns. Played 62% of the team snaps. Tank Bigsby didn't even have a touch until I don't even know when, but finished with 1.2 fantasy points. Bigsby did only 5 carries, 12 rushing yards, while Travis Etienne scored 17.1 fantasy points. I'm going to keep rolling with Travis Etienne, and I don't think you can play Bigsby until you see his workload increase.
Yeah, I'm just glad we had some evidence to figure out where they were going. And they are playing the Bengals this week, so it's a very good matchup for Etienne to continue, you would assume, based on even the put-together production of the Browns this week.
Now, really confusing workload was Kenneth Walker because Zach Charbonnet actually played 17% more offensive snaps than Walker. He had more carries, and he was more efficient with his carries as well, and he got the rushing touchdown. So that was shocking. Now, Walker got a few targets, which Charbonnet didn't, but I mean, Walker with 3.9 points and Charbonnet getting all that work, that's worrisome. I don't really know how to go about Kenneth Walker moving forward for week 2.
Yeah, this kind of indicates a lot of people are saying that it's a new coaching staff. Clint Kubiak, he was going to reevaluate this and look at it more of a close to 50-50 split. Everyone was talking about, he loves Walker. Walker is the man. that was a smokescreen, folks. This is more what they want. I mean, Charbonnet just has so much more juice. Even when Walker was out, Charbonnet was more exciting. He looked put together. They love all the little things Charbonnet can do. So I think this is troublesome for Walker because Charbonnet is also a good receiver. He seems to be a very good red zone runner with a little bit of juice. So this trend could continue. But this, what I say is Walker, a little bit beware. Like I think he drops down to kind of borderline RB2 flex versus a solid RB2. And maybe Charbonnet needs to be an every week flex at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Charbonnet's definitely in consideration now if he keeps getting this work, and he is a good player, like you said. Every time we get to actually see him play, he's really, really good. He's just been stuck behind Kenneth Walker until Walker's injured, but it seems like they're going to split that backfield. So definitely interesting, something to keep an eye on. Now, Drake London, you mentioned it. I mean, he should have had such a big day. He had 15 targets against the Buccaneers, 8 receptions, and that turned into 55 yards. I have no idea how that happens. That's so atrocious. He's even worse than Hollywoood Brown's, 16 targets for 99 yards. We thought that was bad. And then he gets a couple chances to come down with a touchdown at the end of the game to win, drops both of those, and he injures his shoulder on that last play too. So we don't even know how healthy he'll be moving forward. We haven't been on Drake London this offseason, especially at his draft cost. But now, like, if he got 15 targets, Darnell Mooney didn't play. He was against a good defense, and that's all he can do. That's concerning. And now the injury. So we were excited for him against the Buccaneers, but I think he should just be kind of, ranked as a wide receiver 2 type player moving forward, somewhere in the 20s.
Yeah, everyone was jumping on him. There's a lot of people I'd rather have, including Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr., some of these guys that had more upside. They definitely came through, and they were in better situations to do so. Again, Drake London, Michael Penix's chemistry is interesting. It's a little bit up and down, but yeah, I don't know. The Falcons are just seem a little bit dysfunctional. They had to rely on that Bijan Robinson big play early to even stay in it. So I don't know. Michael Penix looked good, but maybe because Michael Penix is good, he's maybe going to diversify a little bit and not just force it up to Drake London.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good to start. I mean, yeah, he looked good overall, I will say, Michael Penix. And he ran a little bit too. So definitely, he had a lot of passing attempts. We'll see if he can keep that up. But he's going to need Drake London to step it up. That's for sure. And now one last guy I just want to bring up, Mark Andrews. Just 1 reception, 5 yards. If he can't do it without Isaiah Likely out there in that type of game with all that scoring, I mean, Mark Andrews is looking like, wow, a bad pick right now. That's scary.
Yeah, the Kelsey versus Andrews thing, I mean, it's not even the question now. Kelsey still scored, and he still was involved, right, despite a certain receiver that was not Xavier Worthy going off in that game. We'll talk about him on the waiver wire. But, yeah, definitely some targets on the waiver wire. No real running back things to look at, but definitely if you're trying to stream quarterbacks and receivers, we'll have some options for you coming up.
Now, you're probably wondering if we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. I know Joe Burrow hurt you and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm not worried at all. Like, no. It was an early season. We know they start slow for whatever reason. Tough road divisional game at Cleveland. A good defense. They get the Jaguars at home this week. Like, they play in Cincinnati. Just plug them right back in. Do not worry about it. We are going to get to the waiver wire priorities to close out today's show right after a quick break. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices. Jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to their fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and just in a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. So just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, let's get into the waiver wire priorities. And I will say, there's some interesting guys out there, but it's not like anyone, I don't think there's anyone you're going to be going all out needing to get after week 1 like we normally have. But, we kind of hinted at Hollywoood Brown here. I mean, in week on that Thursday night game. He got 1,000 targets, 15 targets. It just felt like every play was going to Hollywood Brown. But it's because Xavier Worthy got hurt immediately in the game. Now it's a dislocated shoulder, so he could be back pretty soon. And then it just wasn't very inspiring production off of those targets either.
Yeah, I mean, he still is the guy, right? At this point, I mean, there's some experience there. Look, we can keep writing up Juju Smith-Schuster, but he keeps resurfacing every time Rashee Rice or a big slot is hurt for the Chiefs. So there's just certain like comfort level with certain type of receivers. Now, I'll say this. They're going to try to isolate Marquise Brown a lot on Adoree Jackson, I would think, in week 2. So that would be good news, right? He would not get the Cooper DeJean matchup inside. And again, they're going to exploit that all day long, moving away from Quentin Mitchell. So I think he's going to have to be a factor, Michelle. I mean, they want to throw downfield. They looked actually pretty good doing that in losing the Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I think we saw him play a lot better than we thought, and they don't really have a running game either at this point. Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of targets, and he's a volume-based play for me. But again, I think he might be a little steadier. He might give you a higher floor as a wide receiver 3 than Quentin Johnston, who's more boom or bust, big play guy, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, I think if you needed someone for this week, and if Xavier Worthy is going to be out, then I would prefer Hollywood Brown over picking up a guy like Quentin Johnston. But if you're just looking for upside, they're going to be on your bench anyways this week. I'm going to grab Quentin Johnston and see if he could still keep getting these targets. I mean, he got 7 targets. It's not like it was all just the big plays, but can he keep being that touchdown guy for Herbert? So I would prefer to pick up Johnston unless you need to play someone in your lineup this week. Now, there's 3 guys who had shocking performances that are on most people's waivers. Calvin Austin for the Steelers had 6 targets, 4 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Cedric Tillman with 8 targets, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And then Kayshon Boutte for the Patriots, 103 yards off of 8 targets. He didn't score a touchdown, but still, I mean, all of these guys played over 80% of their team snaps. If you had to pick up one of these guys, or let's just say rank them, Calvin Austin, Kayshon Boutte, Cedric Tillman, what is your order that you're trying to grab them off waivers?
Yeah, I think I go Cedric Tillman first because the Browns are clearly showing us a little bit of a youth movement, right? With their passing game and Joe Flacco. Go figure, with the old quarterback, they're going to younger targets. And Tillman's had talent. We've been teased by him before. And then I would go Calvin Austin because, again, looks like they want to get him going in some form with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a game changer. When he's there, he's going to make those type of receivers look a lot better. And then I would go third to Kayshon Boutte because I think that could be a cycle from week to week with the Patriots, a certain receiver. We had Demario Douglas get in the action. We could have Stephon Diggs do something. I think that's going to be more of who is Josh McDaniels picked to have an impact this week. So Boutte's definitely a distant last, but Tillman and Austin kind of intriguing here, and probably don't have to spend too much to get either as a option on your wide receiver bench.
Yeah, I actually think I might go Calvin Austin first because, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was looking to him, and it was like these deep shots, deep contested catches too. He looked good. I mean, he's a smaller guy, but he was coming down with these plays. And outside of DK Metcalf, the Steelers desperately needed another wide receiver to step up on this team. And it seems like it might be Calvin Austin. So I would prefer to pick him up and then Cedric Tillman because I do think he'll get a lot of targets moving forward with Joe Flacco. And then I completely agree with you with Boutte. I think the Patriots will be changing in and out with who is their top, target and who gets the targets in any given week. Now, 2 tight ends surprised us that should be out there for you. It's rookie Harold Fannin Jr. He was getting a ton of hype for the Browns, 3rd-round rookie. He stole a lot of David Njoku's targets. And then David Njoku couldn't catch a ball to save his life. But he got 9 targets in his first NFL game, 7 receptions, 63 yards. And he's a tight end, right? You plug him into your tight end spot, but really they use him as a wide receiver. So that's interesting. Played 72% of snaps right off the bat. And then Juwan Johnson played almost 100% of snaps in week 1 for the Saints. 11 targets, 76 receiving yards, 8 receptions. Those receptions and yards led the team. Spencer Rattler didn't look good, but he loved him some Juwan Johnson. So, I mean, I think both of these guys are good pickups this week.
Yeah, I'll start with Juwan Johnson. I mean, if it's compressed with Daniel Jones, it's super compressed with Spencer Rattler, and Rattler can't move. So that's the other thing. So as long as he's the starter and it's not Tyler check it up deep Shuck in there, then you're going to have Juwan Johnson be the security blanket. It's just going to happen. And Alvin Kamara, by the way. So those are going to be like the key targets because Rattler just cannot push the ball downfield. He's going to have to target the tight end. So limitations there. Now, the Fannin thing was a big twist, right? Because it was the Flacco and Njoku chemistry from 2 years ago. There was an indication they liked Fannin, but not to the point where he was going to be operating as an equal alpha there in a lot of 12 personnel for Kevin Stefanski with David Njoku, right? This was out of nowhere a little bit. Maybe they're just looking for youth movement. Maybe they know their season is just shot. They're trying to see who's going to be the receivers that they want going forward. Because Njoku is getting old. Keep that in mind. A little bit older. He's been in the league. So, again, this is worrisome with the way they spread the ball around because they're not a great passing team to begin with. So when they spread those targets around, it's not very good. So I don't know. Like I wouldn't rush to pick up Fannin. I wouldn't want to do that. But Juwan Johnson, look, there's going to be some value because he's going to get the targets as long as Rattler's out there.
Now, Isaiah Likely is a guy to consider picking up. He might not play, the next week or two, but with how little Mark Andrews is used, Likely might be in for a big role when he's back.
Yeah, definitely.
Continuing with the Browns, Dylan Sampson, he had a solid enough day. I mean, he scored 13.3 fantasy points in half PPR. His efficiency on the ground was terrible, 12 for 29, 2.4 yards per carry, but he saw 8 targets and caught all of those 8 targets for 8 receptions and 64 yards. So clearly going to be involved in the passing game, but Quinton Judkins did finally sign with the Browns, and he is like they say he could be back on the field in week 2. So is Dylan Sampson worth a pickup knowing that Judkins will be back?
Well, I don't know why they're involving another player to score touchdowns too that we didn't really see. So, yeah, the Raheem factor here, Sanders. So, like, we're looking at, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, it's hard enough to figure it out between 2 backs. Now you're going to have 3 with Judkins and Ford and Sampson. And I'm going to figure out what we want from Sanders. Is he a goal line back? But one thing I do know, Dylan Sampson looks like the most talented, dynamic, can make some big plays. And if they're going youth movement, Fannin and Sampson and Tillman. These guys are the guys that are going to be sent around until they can actually find a young quarterback to get them the ball.
That will be it for today's episode. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We will be back tomorrow, and we're going to start our positional rankings for week 2 right away for you. So you can get, a head start on setting your week 2 lineups. We'll start with our quarterback and tight end rankings tomorrow. So don't miss that. We'll talk to you then. Bye, y'all.